Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and Deadpool and Wolverine releasing on digital has included some deleted scenes that finally begin to answer the film's biggest unanswered question: why Deadpool was selected by the unseen higher authorities of the TVA to be spared from the destruction of Universe 10005 to join the MCU 616 Sacred Timeline. And these scenes provide some much needed context on Marvel Studios' plan to shift from the Kang Dynasty plan to the new path for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. It's now clear that Marvel Studios is going to blame the TVA and its original architect of He Who Remains for restraining the MCU and crippling it ahead of a coming incursion war with another universe, and elevating figures like God of Stories Loki and Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom as dueling green-cloaked figures who are each trying to avenge this crisis in their own ways. I'm going to explain how I got all of that from these two deleted scenes from Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, we have an incredible new mask, same tasks shirt available on our merch store, nerdright.shop, which is a great way to support New Rockstars and grab a really cool holiday gift option for that special nerd in your life. Okay, Deadpool and Wolverine's digital release includes two deleted scenes, both of which would have given more context to Matthew Macfadyen's character of Mr. Paradox, the TVA agent who went rogue from his observation assignment of Universe 10005 to instead construct a time ripper to expedite the death of this universe marked for destruction. The first deleted scene we'll look at shows Paradox requesting an increase of resources for his time ripper from B-15, his boss, who now seems to be running the TVA.
Well, you've seen the file on Earth 10005. It's teeming with troublemakers.
Remember, your job is to do nothing. Make sure others do nothing.
Sit in your chair, do nothing. Understood?
Do I detect a tone?
A tone?
Maybe you'll detect this one. Good day, Mr. Paradox.
Now, you'll notice that Paradox's nose is broken here, so this would have to be sometime after Deadpool gets his new suit and headbutts him, stealing the Tempad to take his tour through the different universes to seek a new Wolverine. Deadpool being loose in the multiverse with the Tempad would probably heighten the need for Paradox to try to move fast and rush the completion of the Time Ripper by making this request from B-15, but Paradox thought he dodged a bullet when Deadpool returns to the TVA with the drunk Wolverine, which just led to Paradox pruning both of them to the void. Now, at first, it seems pretty clear why this scene was deleted. It doesn't really contribute much to the plot, and at first glance, B-15 comes off as oddly passive and like obstructionist in ways that B-15 did not really seem to be in the Loki series. Like, she says, remember, your job is to do nothing, make sure others do nothing. Yeah, that kind of sounds like almost a stereotypical DMV worker, someone who's just trying to like run out the clock to get their pension, right? This is not the B-15 we remember, especially at the end of the Loki series, after Loki revolutionized the agency as God of Stories, tasked with nurturing the branches of the sacred timeline instead of pruning them. In the final minutes of the final episode, she's actively checking in on the progress of various divisions, including Mobius's reporting on the actions of Kang the Conqueror and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
I got those reports on the variants of He Who Remains.
Do any of them know that we exist yet?
Nope. I guess one of them caused a little bit of a ruckus on 616 adjacent realm, but they handled it, so we're all good for now.
That's all we can ask for.
Now, you could say that B-15's new mission is to not intervene, to just observe and report, and that's still consistent with how she is with Paradox in this deleted Deadpool scene, but for B-15 to advise Paradox to be so inactive that he could, if he's lucky, sit in her chair someday, implies that the TVA is now aggressively non-interventionist, to the point of it being kind of their whole agency's philosophy. It suggests that it's really coming from the top down, from God of Stories Loki himself, who, we should note, is also sitting in a chair, merely observing. I actually think it may be God of Stories Loki whom Paradox was referring to as his superiors, who made the decision to extract Wade Wilson from the doomed universe of 10005.
You've been chosen for a higher purpose, a purpose unclear even to me. One that could save the entire sacred timeline from a possibly grisly fate sometime in the future, which may very well need to be avenged.
And later, he refers to some pencil-pushing superiors that he doesn't really respect, clearly.
Regardless of what the pencil pushers upstairs would prefer, I will not waste my life watching it die slowly of natural causes. We used to just prune these things. Simple. But I'm told the TVA doesn't like to do that anymore. Well, I do. And no matter what my so-called superiors say, the multiverse does not need A babysitter.
By pencil pushing, based on this deleted scene with B-15, I think he is referring to B-15, but he does refer to a plural superiors, which tells us that from Paradox's perspective, beyond B-15, there is someone higher in that corporate hierarchy, and that he probably knows about God of Stories Loki. But it remains a mystery, even after this film, why the leadership of the TVA extracted Deadpool. But I think we can all agree it probably has something to do with that shot of him with a crying Thor, with Avengers Doomsday, and with Avengers Secret Wars. I theorize that in Secret Wars, we're gonna see Deadpool sacrificing himself in the way of Loki's death and Thor the Dark World to try to free Loki from the burden of being the god of stories so that Thor can fulfill his promise to his adopted brother back in Avengers Infinity War.
I assure you, brother, the sun will shine on us again.
But based on the context of the scene, Paradox clearly knows whatever that future is.
Is that me? Is that Thor? Is he crying?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. That happens in the distant future.
Why is Thor crying? Quick,
Do not
tell me.
speak to her.
And Paradox, knowing what that future is what led to him directing Wade's attention away from it. Paradox was under instructions from B-15, under instructions from Loki, to keep Deadpool in the blind on this future with the Avengers. But according to Loki's design, Deadpool needs to be alongside the Avengers to save their universe. Now, we should note that plan by the end of Deadpool and Wolverine, with Wade being with Logan and the rest back in the X-Men universe of 10005, that plan has been thwarted. Whatever original Avengers-related purpose that the TVA needed Deadpool to be a part of is not on track. So I think Loki and B-15's non-interventionist policy is a response to what Marvel Studios is now saying He Remains and the TVA previously did to the MCU, to censor the sacred timeline and manipulate the history we've been living in a specific way to leave this universe as incomplete as we know it to be, to make it so devoid of Kangs or any possible Kangs, but to leave it without several key players that could have buffered it against other universes in future incursion conflicts. The MCU, as Deadpool notes in this film, is at a low point. Yes, that's some meta commentary by Ryan Reynolds about the relative successes of phases 4, 5, and 6 of the franchise, but I think this is also Marvel in-universe acknowledging that their 616 universe currently has no Tony Stark, no defined Avengers lineup, no Fantastic Four, no X-Men, assorted mutants, yes, but not any of them organized into an X-Men fighting force or an Xavier Academy. No Oscorp, because remember, Norman Osborn said so back in Spider-Man No Way Home. No T'Challa, but I guess it does now have a Mephisto, so, that's a win. As Marvel Studios shifts their original plan for the 5th Avengers movie from being the Kang Dynasty to Avengers Doomsday, one very straightforward course would be to blame this incomplete status on the manipulations of He Who Remains, who used the TVA to strip this history of any possible branch that could have led to a rival variant. But doing so, they could say, left the 616 universe with several key players dead or sidelined. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. There's a big misconception about therapy out there that scares people away from it, and it's that therapy might only be for people with chronic mental illness, but that's just not true. Therapy is a tool everybody can use for personal growth, to get help solving problems, or to just have a safe space to talk to someone you trust. BetterHelp is on a mission to make starting therapy easier. It's a platform where therapists and their clients can communicate effectively so you can get the most out of therapy. Starting therapy is easy with BetterHelp. Fill out a questionnaire and you will match with a therapist in as little as a couple days. They carefully make sure their therapists on the platform are well qualified, and their customer support team is there to help you if you have any questions. If the first therapist doesn't feel like the right fit, you can easily switch to another one until you find someone you really connect with. BetterHelp also provides a journal for personal reflection, plus group sessions on a variety of topics are available every day. Users love BetterHelp. They have over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot. If you're struggling and think you'd benefit from a therapy session, click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/newrockstars and get 10% off your first month of therapy. Now, there was another deleted scene in which Paradox acknowledges this distinction between universes to Wade.
Mr. Wilson, this may come as a shock to a narcissistic, blathering bag of meat like yourself, but your universe is not the only one in existence.
Oh, please, you think I haven't seen Dr. Ant in the Quantum Burst of Madness?
Your world may seem singular to you, but really it's a teeny tiny weeny speck on a vast cosmic canvas. In reality, the only universe considered the true universe exists on the sacred timeline, and it is guarded zealously by all of us here at the TVA.
Now, this scene I feel should have been kept. Wade merging Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania into one very confusing movie in his head is very funny and very true for a lot of people who watch these movies. Now, we can look at deleted scenes in a lot of ways. They are not technically canon because they do not occur within the runtime of their films. They were removed by the filmmakers, and often deleted scenes are just like ignored or retconned by future films in the franchise. For example, the 2021 Black Widow film kind of ignores what Natasha tells Steve about finding her family's graves in that deleted scene from Peggy Carter's funeral in 2016's Captain America: Civil War. At least that's depending on how you interpret that scene, I guess. But I think we should also acknowledge that these deleted scenes made it all the way through several script drafts to the point of being shot and being edited. And I think that gives us at least a sense of the one-time intent of the filmmakers. And that way they can be useful context in interpreting other scenes of the film that leave us with questions about what the filmmakers intended. For example, in the past year, Marvel released a deleted scene from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier that gave us context on when exactly James Rhodes became a Skrull, which actually for a lot of us fixed the confusion about Rhodey's Skrull timeline from the Secret Invasion series. Technically, that deleted scene is not canon, but I think it's okay for us to look at it and say that the Secret Invasion finale episode left things vague enough that we can all just agree in our headcanon that Rhodey only got replaced by a Skrull after Endgame. I will admit that that's kind of a canon gray area because the director of Secret Invasion, Ali Salim, said that his interpretation of it was that Rhodey got replaced by a Skrull after Captain America: Civil War, which meant that the Rhodey that we saw in Infinity War and Endgame was a Skrull that whole time. I think we all kind of hate that idea, and I think when it comes to Marvel Studios releasing a deleted scene versus a director's interview, it's fine to believe either one of them. But in this case, in Deadpool and Wolverine, this scene was drafted, it was shot, it was edited, and we saw in the scene Paradox giving the audience exposition that the TVA's purpose is to zealously regard the sacred timeline, to favor it as the only true universe. But the word zealously sounds like it comes from a previous policy of the TVA under He Who Remains. God of Stories Loki and this new, very chill B-15 would not consider any part of their jobs to be zealous. Even God of Stories Loki would probably bristle at being called the God of Stories. And I think it's pretty telling that in this scene, Paradox describes the TVA this way only when he and Wade are in the elevator with two Minutemen who stay on that level of Paradox's division, assigned to Paradox's rogue unit with its independence. And he says this out of earshot of other departments in the TVA, almost as if he's telling Wade, psst, we might have some new marching orders, but we in the old guard still say this is what we're really supposed to be doing. Now, we should also remember that there was another important deleted moment with regard to Paradox later in the film, which included Cassandra Nova's sling ring. This sling ring came from a Doctor Strange variant whose skin Cassandra wore, and it has on its sides a time stone and a reality stone. Cassandra uses this ring to open a portal to escape the void into Wade's neighborhood, but then it kind of disappears from the movie. We see her running that hand through Paradox's head and taking him down to the subway station and controlling him to turn on the Time Ripper device. We never see the ring again in the film, but a deleted shot that was revealed in a VFX reel shows what happened to this ring. Paradox spits the ring out of his mouth.
Ring, please.
Now, in the theatrical cut, you could see Paradox actually turning his head as if he has something in his mouth, and you could see something in Cassandra's hand as she walks away, while she says this interesting line.
Thank you so much for your help, darling. God, good to get out of that head. Woo! What a mess.
So think about that. In one version of the scene, Paradox had a time stone and a reality stone and a mystical artifact bumping around his brain, mixing in with his gray matter, connecting with his nerve synapses and all the other unexplored regions of the brain. A brain that Cassandra Nova right afterward called a mess. And I just kind of feel like Marvel Studios, if they don't already have a bigger plan for Mr. Paradox, needs to have one. Not only is he a great actor, there's so much meat on this bone to show how this character could have his brain entangled with like another reality. And with Marvel Studios treating the TVA as a non-intervening, peaceful caretaker organization that focuses on gradual monitoring of branches to their own natural fades and peaceful coexistence among the sacred timeline and its often contradictory branches, even to the point of taking its most badass hunter from its best streaming series and turning her into a pencil pusher who frets about little more than her office chair. That tells us that they want this TVA to be weak. They want it to be in a state of reform and remorse over a past generation of invasive overcorrection. I believe it sets this agency on a collision course with people like a genius from another reality who's real pissed off at such multiversal enforcement agencies with histories of thumbing the scales in favor of other universes over other equally deserving ones. I'm talking, of course, about Dr. Doom. Imagine Victor Von Doom hearing a TVA agent describing his home as a, quote, teeny tiny weeny speck on the vast cosmic canvas. By casting Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, I think Marvel Studios wants Doomsday and Secret Wars to be a restaging of the showdown between Downey and Tom Hiddleston from the 2012 Avengers film, but with the moral alignment flipped.
You're missing the point. There's no throne. There is no version of this where you come out on top. Because if we can't protect the Earth, you can be damn well sure we'll avenge it.
Yes, you can imagine a conversation between the god of stories Loki and Robert Downey Jr. Dr. Doom with all kinds of callbacks to this moment. Like now, Downey Doom could want to avenge his Earth from an incursion conflict and from being erased and replaced. Doom could want Loki's throne, but Loki could say that his chair isn't a throne. There is no throne, only a stump to sit upon and watch everything you love live and die without you. I want to hear from you. Do these deleted scenes change the way you see Deadpool and Wolverine's connections to Doomsday and Secret Wars? Comment down below with your thoughts. Follow me at EA Voss. Subscribe to all 3 channels in the new Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.